All right, today we are here with Brady Lewis from GAIM.AI. We're here talking to him about their efforts over there and what's going on. So, Brady, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about GAIM and what you guys are up to.
Cool. Well, first off, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it. I've listened to several of your episodes. You guys are doing great. I love seeing you young guys getting into this. This was exactly how I was when I was younger. Not to say I'm not still young, but it's all good. So me personally, I've been very interested in technology from a very young age. I was in middle school about the time that the internet first started coming around to regular people. So I started learning how to build websites back then. That kind of progressed through high school. And my senior year of high school, my high school actually started offering a computer programming class. And that was the first tech type of class that was even offered. So I signed up for that. And once I got in there, I loved it. I worked harder in that class than any other class. And I decided to apply for the computer science program at Indiana University, which I got accepted to and went there. And I didn't have the typical straight through college experience. I stopped and started several times. When I went to IU, I did, the typical college stuff, partying and joining a fraternity and all that stuff. And that wasn't great for my academic pursuits. But anyway, I finally ended up getting my degree from IU in informatics. I went through a period in my early 20s where I was working in public service. I didn't have my college degree, but I still on the side was doing things like starting businesses, learning SEO, learning JavaScript, learning all this other stuff. And I got really deep into several areas. Like back then, I published a cookbook on Amazon that I got to #1 just through, the sheer force of the SEO methods and stuff. Like the cookbook was awful. But I got to learn how things worked kind of. And, there are some things that are more important than others when you're trying to launch a product or anything like that. So that was really, really where I got to cut my teeth. And then once I finished my degree, I applied at Salesforce for a technical architect role. And very fortunately, my interviewing and hiring manager lived in the same town as me, and our kids went to the same school. Just a sheer stroke of luck. I mean, there's like 85,000 people that work for Salesforce.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I was just fortunate enough to have that immediate rapport and somehow managed to convince him to hire me. And he did on
Nice.
my first shot. And, it worked out really well. I immediately started proving my worth and moved up quickly. And I was there at Salesforce for about almost 8 years. And by the time I left, I was a senior manager and a principal architect. I was managing a team of platform architects on large accounts. And I've got to work with a lot of really cool companies like Ulta and Discount Tire, Victoria's Secret, Office Depot, a lot of these big companies that I grew up, wishing that I could start a huge company like this. And it was great to get to see the inside look of how these companies run their digital marketing and marketing. I was on the digital marketing side, so I worked closely with their digital marketing teams and got to do some really cool stuff. Like when COVID hit in 2020, Ulta was my main client at the time, and they were scrambling to figure out how to handle COVID and curbside pickup and all this stuff. And so within a week, we had to build this architecture and these processes and these email automations and everything that would allow people to do the curbside pickup. And that's just something that, most people don't get to be involved with. And it's just really cool to do something that seemed important and, that hundreds of thousands of people, if not millions, were going to use and know that I had a big part in making that. And so I really feel like the experience I got prior to Salesforce doing the digital marketing stuff on my own and learning the ins and outs and, learning from PDFs and lead magnets and these things that people like me were putting together without the whole corporate spin on everything. I feel like you can get a little bit, deeper and dirtier with something that's put out just by a random person. But then going to Salesforce really got to round out my skill set, because then I got to get the enterprise side of things and see how big business works and see how things move through, the chains there, and get a grasp on reality of like how long a project really takes, because it has to, involve 6 different teams, as opposed to me. I can go, if I want to make a change to the website, I can go do it in 20 minutes. At Salesforce, it's going to take you 4 weeks to, make a change like that. And so it was really, really interesting and great to see both sides of it. And so now that I left Salesforce about 2 years ago, probably, and have been doing my own thing since then. And I feel like it's really helped me, take both sides of that and make the best version that's not too corporate dulled down, but also professional. Like at this point in time, I wouldn't allow myself to put out something too crappy, because I know what's expected of a real company. And so I try to, keep that corporate polish on it without being too dull and, dumbing down, for lack of a better word, the information or the features or whatever like that. So yeah, that's pretty much in a nutshell how I came to be at this point.
There's something kind of funny thinking about a company like Victoria's Secret relying on Salesforce in the end. Like there's these massive sexy companies that people look to as like cultural leaders and cultural touch points, and in the end, like they're really just a business like any other. Like the only thing that changes is kind of like that very top layer of what do we sell.
Very much so. Yeah. And it was I always found it very odd working at Salesforce, because it's a huge company, one of the top tech companies in the world. But since it's not really consumer facing, nobody ever knew what it was. And like I would go to the doctor and they would ask me my place of employment for my insurance. I'd say Salesforce, and they're like, you do sales where? I was like, no, that's the name of the company. People just didn't know. And it's getting a little better now, because they're sponsoring WNBA teams, and they have plastered Salesforce Tower everywhere in all the big cities and everything. But it was very odd to feel like I worked at this tech titan company and nobody had the slightest idea what it was or anything like that.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And it's interesting your background coming from, because oftentimes a lot of the founders we've interviewed have been, young, just like haven't been into like a high level corporate scenario. And so that is a unique perspective that you bring, having seen that side of things and now kind of incorporating, taking the good parts and trying to incorporate that in, and leaving behind all the extra overhead.
Yeah, and there's definitely excuse me, there's definitely pros and cons to it. Like, one of the things that you need to do as a starting company is move fast. And my mindset on making sure everything is, it looks good, functions right, is enterprise quality, that slows it down. Even though, we're a very small team and we can make decisions on the fly, I still personally have, like a threshold of what something has to be before I want to put it out to the public. And that's not always a good thing. There are definitely times where it would benefit us to just get something out there, even if even if we have to revise it a few times. So, I love the fact that I have that experience. But I definitely am not going to ignore the fact that there are definitely some drawbacks to it as well.
Yeah. Different approaches. So, I mean, obviously GAIM.AI has reached your threshold. What can you walk us through, maybe just like to start, a two sentence, 3 sentence pitch about just what a GAIM.AI is? What's the purpose? What's the goal?
Sure. So there are a few things that we are our main things that we're attempting to accomplish with GAIM, and one of them is breaking down the technical knowledge hurdles that are preventing people from starting to use AI. Uh, Things like if you want to go generate an image and you face like how many steps you want, how much you want your guidance scale, what dimensions are best for the model, all those kinds of things, not even getting into the prompt engineering part of it. Somebody that's new to it doesn't know that they should go in there and specify all these details, what kind of camera lens to use, what kind of lighting and all this stuff. And so one of the main things that we wanted to do was remove those complexities. So we've done things like we have, instead of just having an image generator, we have 30 or 40 specific types of image generators. So if you want like a 3D cartoon, instead of having to know how to properly prompt a general image generator to get a 3D cartoon, you can just go to the 3D cartoon generator. On the back end, we've already primed the generator with the details to make it come out looking good as a 3D cartoon. So you can go in there and just type, a tiger playing soccer, and you're going to get a 3D cartoon of a tiger playing soccer back without having to put all those additional details in there because we've handled it on the back end. Same thing with chatbots. We don't have we do have just a general assistant chatbot for, anything you might need, but we also have several specific chatbots. Like we have a marketing bot, a content bot, a life coach, health and wellness bot that are all pre-trained and primed on the back end to be knowledgeable in their specific area, so that you don't have to do things like with prompt engineering, go in and say, act as a whatever. We've taken care of all that for you, so that somebody that is new to AI can come straight to the app and just start chatting with the specific chatbot they want and get the better results without having to do all the extra prompting. So reducing those hurdles was a main thing. And another thing that we have wanted to do is really push the capabilities of generative AI apps to go beyond just chatbots, image generators, and to do things that are like chained events or chained functions. So if you wanted to like create if you were looking to create content for marketing, instead of having to go to an image generator and generate an image, then go to another tool to generate a caption, then go to another tool for hashtags. We're building things that put all of those into one process, again, to try and make things easier, to where you can do things like just you would go in and say, I want an image, caption, post, hashtags, whatever, and then put in whatever information you're trying to get out of it. And then it would run through all those steps like in a sequence, instead of having to go through all of those. So again, trying to make things as easy as possible to try and get people in the door. A lot of the experiences I've had is, even with my friends, like get them, grab their phone, go in the app, show them what it can actually do, show them how easy it is. Then they're blown away. Then they start using it. But it's that fear that people have, that they're not going to be able to figure it out, that and they don't even know what they would do with it a lot of times. So that goes back into the education of, we need to not only teach people how to use AI, but what to use it for. Like a lot of people just don't even know. It's just so foreign to them, and they don't want to touch it at all. And so those are the types of things that we're attempting to accomplish. We're trying to make it an app that you can do multiple things in, so you don't have to have 100 different apps, pay 100 different subscriptions, and make it easy enough for a brand new person to go in and actually accomplish what they're trying to accomplish.
That's great.
So I'd be curious, from what I've seen on the app, the different like the different chatbots, for example, are different icons within the app, and they open up their own independent dialogues. What was the design decision to go that direction rather than like a general like, hey, you go to this chat page and then you have a list of chatbot personalities that you can select from? Was that a specific design decision, or is it just kind of something that evolved out of how you built it originally?
It's evolved into that. We've had a couple different variations of it, and the current variation, the desktop experience matches the mobile experience. That wasn't always the case. We used to have a completely separate desktop version, but it became difficult to manage both sets of code. And so we've switched to using this unified experience, and I wanted to attempt to make it familiar and comfortable for people. So that's why it looks like text messaging when you're conversing with a chatbot. I didn't want to add additional complexity because of the UI into an app that the subject was already something that people were fearing the complexity of. So that's really the main reason that we set it up like it is. And when we get into more complex tools and the step tools that I was talking about, we may have to make some adjustments to handle that situation. But wherever I can make it feel comfortable to people, I wanted to make it feel comfortable to people.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it seems like the real bedrock foundation of all that you're doing is like simplify, ease of use, make it available to the general public, which I think is great.
Yeah, and that's kind of that was what we from the start, that was our goal. And now there are lots of AI apps out there now, and so you kind of have to try and stake your flag into something, or else you're just going to get lost in the mix of the other AI apps.
Yeah. Would now be a good time, Brady? Do you have anything you'd like to show for the app GAIM.AI?
I can show the desktop version real quick and show you some of the different tools.
That'd be great.
Let me share my screen here. You guys see that all right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is the, once you log in, this is the page that you're going to land on. And this is just the front page to give you a quick access to several of the tools. You can see we have text to image, we have image to image, we have different chat bots. We also have lots of AI characters that you can chat with, which I think is an underrated aspect of AI that people haven't really caught on to yet. We'll go into those here in a second. But then we have AI Sight, which is also a computer vision tool. So it can do things like what I like to use it for is I will sketch out a layout of a website or a page that I want to create. And then I will just upload the picture and say, give me the HTML to make this layout. And it comes back right away with the HTML. So that's a huge time saver. And there are lots of different ideas that you could use that for. Again, it's kind of like, even I struggle with it, but like we have to let people know what they can even do with it, because there's, there are things that can be done now with AI that just weren't even possible before. So it's not something that really comes to mind to people, because it's not something they're looking to do because they don't think it can be done. But anyway, we have lots of different tools. So these are the different chat bots. You can see we have like Science Bot, Side Hustle Bot, Social Media Bot, all kinds of specific chat bots that are tailored to a specific industry or niche. We also have different asset bots. So when you're trying to create something specific, you can come in here and they're trained to be good at one thing. Now they're conversational bots, so you can go back and forth with them, but they're specifically trained to make the best of the asset that they're trained for. And we have different, these are our text to image, so you can see all the different kinds here. So like this generator right here, I wouldn't even know what to call that if I was trying to make an image like that. So there would be no way that I would be able to go into a general image generator and create that.
Yeah.
But in this situation, it's already done. So all you have to go in there and do is say, I want a picture of 3 wolves on a mountain, and you're going to get something very cool like this back.
Nice.
We also have image to image or selfie translators or whatever you want to call them. So you can upload a picture of yourself or whatever you would like and transform it into a different type of image, which that seems to be the thing that first grabs people, like my friends. They're like, oh, that's cool. I want to turn myself into a comic book character, whatever. And a lot of them do it with their kids. Their kids love getting their picture turned into a cartoon or whatever.
Yeah.
So those are fun. And then these labs, these are kind of like more fun, entertainment-based kind of things. One that is really helpful is this Explain Like I'm 5, which I'm sure you can guess what it is, but you can go into it and say, I don't understand quantum physics. And it's going to come back and explain it to you in extremely simplified manner so that you can understand whatever the topic is.
If someone were coming to GAIM for like the first time, what would you tell them to look at?
All right, cool. Let me share real quick. Okay. To get them interested, I would first suggest maybe, if not the image to image, our game labs are kind of our fun entertainment type things. And so there's a bunch of different ones here, but one that I like is the bartender AI. So you can come in here and tell it, the ingredients that you have, and it will come up with a cool drink for you. So
Oh wow,
you can
that's
use
cool.
any of the suggestions if you want, or you can get rid of those and say something like, I have vodka, lemonade, make me a drink. And let's see what it comes up with. So it's gonna name your drink for you. It's gonna give you the ingredients, the instructions, and it's going to give you a little blurb in case, like, for instance, my mom works as a bartender as a side job, and she is constantly using this to come up with new drinks. And so not only does it come up with the drink, it gives you a little blurb if you were to, like, want to put it on a chalkboard or whatever. So
I love it.
Yeah, these tools are just fun things. And there's one that's like a virtual sommelier. So if you are having a fancy dinner and you want to know what wine pairs well with it, you can go in there and get that answer. Or, Tune Tales is one where you can enter a song, an artist that you like, and it's going to come back with a written story about the characters in the song, which I always think is fun. Like the first one I did was Devil Went Down to Georgia, and it wrote this long story that was just so fun and cool about, Johnny and the devil and their battle and all this stuff. So I think
Nice.
fun stuff like that, can get the appetite whetted and show them, the kind of power and creativity that they could use with the other tools.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Anything else that you would like me to go through here? I know we briefly talked about characters, which I think one of the cool things here is we call them AI characters, but you can see there's also all these different types. So if you wanted to, if you were doing a school report on the Grand Canyon, you could come in here and actually talk to the Grand Canyon, and it's going to respond as if it is in fact the Grand Canyon. So you can ask it about itself, or you can ask it its opinion on things, and it's going to, however it does that, it takes into account everything about itself and thinks and acts and responds with all of that in mind. So it's super fun, super cool to be able to talk with these different things.
Wow. So how big is your team, and what's the process of coming up with things, all this stuff? Like I imagine that could be pretty fun.
It is fun. And well, first off, we are a team of two. There's only two of us, me and Zach.
Okay.
Like I said, Zach's the COO. He's the operations guy. I'm the tech guy. I'm the CEO, but right now, at this point in time, mostly focusing on tech. So I built all of these things. I built the mobile apps, iOS, Android, built the desktop, and I used at my time of Salesforce, when I was an individual contributor, my actual role was as an architect. So I learned how to build these systems based on data. So all of these tools, each tool is just a record in the database that gets pulled into our apps. So it's super easy to scale more tools. All I have to do is go in and add another record. So when I am in that mode of creating new tools, it is very fun. And so it's sometimes hard to get out of, and, I'll wake up and tell Zach, hey, I just created 25 new tools for the app. And so it's a double-edged sword. It's super easy, but sometimes that can suck you into spending more time on those kinds of things than you want. But keeping the data model in mind across all of our apps has been super important to allowing us to scale.
That's awesome. So you've also written and released a book recently,
Yep.
AI for Newbies. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? What kind of topics do you cover within that? How technical do you get?
Sure. Yeah. We just a couple weeks ago published AI for Newbies. It's available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can get it for Kindle, you can get it paperback, you can get it hardback. And what we really wanted to do with this book is start tackling that education, portion of the AI hurdles. And so everything in the book is not technical. It's explained in normal words and described in a way that it doesn't feel like you're reading about complex technical stuff. There's we stay away from the jargon and getting too in the weeds with the details. Now there are a couple sections in the book called Talk Nerdy to Me where we explain a little bit more on the more technical side of things, because there are tech people that are unfamiliar with AI too.
Yeah.
So we didn't want it to be just completely 100% surface newbie only type of things, but we tried to cover everything that we could think of that a newbie would be interested in or would come into contact with. I will say that it's more heavily focused on generative AI than things like creating your own AI models and things like that. But we do cover at least like some terminology surrounding those other non-generative AI areas of AI. But you can expect to learn how to use ChatGPT, or what even ChatGPT is, how to use chatbots, how to use image generators, how to chat with AI characters. And then it teaches about proper prompting techniques for both chat and image. In the appendix, there's a big long list of ready-made prompts to use for different industries or different goals. We list a bunch of different like attributes that you can use with your image prompts. So like different art medium, different art styles, different artists that using them as an influence produces good results. So we really just tried to cover everything a new person would need to get in and start using the GAIM app, or start using ChatGPT, or start using Midjourney. We also touch on the big players like Anthropic and these other names and terms that you're likely to run into and not know exactly what they are. We
Mhm.
really just tried to, I said it already, but we tried to make it cover everything that you might run into as a newbie before
Yeah,
you get your feet wet and start getting deeper into things.
that's great.
Yeah, it's been really,
I
it's gone really well so far. We did a free promotion for 5 days after it launched, and we captured the #1 spot in
That's
6 different
great.
categories, including AI, including computer science, and we got up to #2 in the overall computer and technology
Great.
category. So it's gone
That's
really well.
amazing. That's a huge deal. Wow.
Yeah, it's been great.
Um, that's very exciting. So if anyone listening wants to get this book, get their hands on it, you said Amazon, Barnes and Noble, AI for Newbies is the title,
Yep.
correct?
Yep. If you go to
Perfect.
Amazon and search AI for newbies, it should be the first one that comes up. If not, it will be one of the first couple. But every time that I've gone in to look at it, it's been, if I search the exact name, it
Perfect.
comes up first.
Great. Well, that's exciting. Thank you for putting in that work. I know it's not
My
easy to
pleasure.
write a book, but it's great to have a resource for anyone, wanting to learn more and get into AI. One question I had as you were talking about the book, you threw out these big name players, right? ChatGPT, Anthropic, Midjourney, all these very, very large entities. Um,
Yep.
how is Game AI competing with, these huge companies? Like, what is it that's setting Game apart?
Yeah, I that's a great question, and obviously, at this point, we can't compete with ChatGPT and Midjourney as far as visibility or awareness or anything like that. But um, our tools, those two, most of the big name tools are specific to one thing. Like ChatGPT does chat based stuff. Yes, it can do images and that stuff now, but it's very um, it's like the general app. Like we use ChatGPT on our back end for a lot of stuff, but again, on our front end, we've it doesn't look like ChatGPT, and it's not as stripped down or I feel like ChatGPT is great for tech people who know what they're doing, but I don't feel like, especially like Midjourney, I think that recently they've put their website online, but forever you had to go into Discord and figure out how to do it in there, and it's super complicated as opposed to Game where it's a familiar app, it's a familiar look. You go in there, you choose an image generator, and you type in what you want, and that's it. That comes back with the information. So I
Mhm.
think that we have to position ourselves as one. We're one app where you can do all of the things that all of these other apps. You have to have them the separate apps to do. So you got it all in one place. And two, making everything easier, less complicated, while not stripping out the power features that power
Yeah.
users will want. But I think that it's just a matter of this next wave of tools, apps, whatever you want to call them, that are they kind of sit on top of those
Hmm.
big name brands. That those big name brands are providing the functionality for the vast majority of these apps that sit on top of it. So it's kind of
Yeah.
like, what can you do differently than everybody else using the same backbone
Right.
as everybody at the same time? So we
Okay.
just continue to look for ways to make things simpler, look for ways to make things more fun, look for ways to make things more engaging, just kind of building the more rounded, fleshed out app that you would go and spend time in, as opposed to a chat GPT where you're going to go there, you're going to type in what you want, you get it, you're gone, and that's it. There's nothing to do in chat GPT other than that, really. So those are the kind of things that we continue to look for to try and start making that foothold, to not necessarily try and unseat one of the chat GPTs or the Anthropics, but to be in that realm of the apps that sit on top of those that are great.
So, kind of a follow-on question from that. What is the user acquisition strategy look like for Game.AI? Do you guys rely a lot on SEO and organic search, or what's the kind of the path?
Yeah, we're tackling it on several different angles. We are very aware of the SEO. We do need to do better on that, as far as like doing some more content marketing, and we have a blog on our parent company website, GAIM.AI. But it's kind of hit and miss. Like sometimes we will go in and we'll be real revved up to do it, and we'll write several articles, and then we'll forget about it for a while because, again, we're a team of two. So we always have our hands in a million different things. But we're also starting to ramp up some like Google ads and social media ads. And then things like the book. The book is a marketing tool for us as well, because we talk about the app. We give free credits within the book for our app, in the hopes that, if we are the first touch point for these AI newbies, they may not have an allegiance to an app. So we can come in and be that app for them.
And maybe you can capture their entire ecosystem.
Right. Yeah.
It being split out. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Smart.
Yeah. And that was, we had that in mind from the beginning, as far as using the book as a tool. And then, we also do things like in the book, one of the free bonuses that you get for purchasing the book is you get access to our prompt vault. And within there, we have marketing materials that we make sure are visible to people that come in there. So we're aware of all the different touch points that are available to us, and being new and trying to run on a tight budget with very few people, we try to make the most of every situation. So, like when you sign up, you get the book, you sign up to get access to the prompt vault. Then we also can market to you via email because you signed up to get the prompt vault. We do things like ask for reviews, because reviews will make the book rank higher. Ranking higher will make the book sell more, and the book selling more gets our name in front of more people. So we try to find as many synergistic types of avenues like that as we can, because it's like AI is an expensive market to try and advertise in. So we're really trying to find those efficiencies.
Yeah. Well, you kind of have this unique perspective, and I'm curious your thoughts, because you have spent so much time, obviously, thinking about AI newbies, AI, just helping people get in entry level. What would you say is the largest, like, what's the biggest hurdle for people? Like, why aren't people flocking? I mean, a lot of people are, but there's a lot of people that aren't flocking to AI, using AI, applying it to their business, whatever. Like, what, if you could say like one or two like big hurdles, what would you say those are?
One is definitely just the fear of the complexity. If they're not a tech person and they hear artificial intelligence, that's a very techie word. And so I think that just that fear that they're not going to even have a clue as to what they're doing prevents the majority of people. But I think that another big aspect of it is the whole fear that AI is going to take jobs. And I think that some people, one, that makes them mad at AI, so to speak, and so they will avoid it because of that. But I feel like they also, could feel like if they go and learn how to enhance their job performance with AI, they have that fear of their boss saying, all right, well, we don't even need you because the AI is doing all the stuff. And I think that fears like that are just, both of those things just feed into people avoiding it. And eventually, either people are going to cave and everybody's going to start using AI, or the other path would be us as AI creators learn how to make AI much more subtle to people. So like people are using AI tools without knowing that they're using AI tools, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's happened. I mean, product recommendations using AI have been around forever, and nobody notices. They don't know that that's AI doing that stuff. So that's another path to go down, just kind of trying to sneak it into people, because then they won't resist it.
That's really interesting you say that, because I've seen similar sentiments reflected elsewhere. One of the people that we interviewed first, Yassine, he has a product called Dingboard that's just an AI image editor. And the other day he made a really similar point on Twitter, just that if people know that Dingboard is 100% AI fueled under the hood, then he hasn't done his job properly. That the true power in these tools is abstracting the user away from the direct interface and building new paintbrushes for them, so to speak.
I agree completely, and I think that crypto and blockchain are in a very similar situation. People resist those because they are what they are, and they're also complex. It's freaking hard to move money around when you're using crypto, much harder than it should be, and hopefully it won't be that hard in the future. But again, if somebody is moving their money around and they just think that it's the typical bank kind of stuff, then there's no problem. But the second that you tell them it's crypto related, they're out. So it's kind of like hiding it for their own good kind of thing.
Yeah, it is fascinating that AI is like, it's such a buzzword for better and for worse. Like, it either increases someone's heart rate and they get super excited about it, or it like shuts them down and they're like, I'm out. Like, I don't do AI. You know what I mean? Like, immediately disconnected, eyes glaze over.
Yes. Yeah, I get that a lot for sure.
So I like the idea, like on Game, how you have, I like the idea of that user interface, that it's, they come in and it's almost like a online, like I'm thinking of like growing up, going online and playing like online games where it's just like different game options and you just click based on that. And it's very intuitive. It's easy. And so I love the mission. I love what you're trying to do with Game. Are there any?
It's very much a psychological thing. Like even as far as, do we call them image to image transformers? Do we call them selfie translators? Like, what are people going to understand? It's hard to even guess.
And what won't scare them.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's very much a learning process for us, as well as us trying to help them learn what AI is. We're trying to learn how to help them learn AI.
Yeah. So much of it just comes down, Salesforce comes down to sales. Like, how to pitch it in a way that someone will not be terrified and also be motivated enough to use it. Like, and it really does take exposure. Like my sister's actually, she's an artist, but she just has recently started using ChatGPT almost as like a business partner. And it just took her starting to use it, and now she relies on it all the time. And it's a huge part of her build out, her infrastructure, and it helps her a ton. But it took those first use cases, and I'll have to ask her what got her to do it. But
you're absolutely right. There are multiple steps into getting people to where we want them. The getting them to try it is just the first step, and like you're saying, the second step is to get them to continue using it, which are different things for sure.
Exactly.
So kind of on that note, if you were to give advice to entrepreneurs, that they don't not necessarily working in the AI space directly, but they have a business, and businesses are going to be affected by AI. That's the truth. In one way or another, they're going to be affected. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs when it comes to dealing with AI?
I personally, and this won't come as a surprise, but like you said, I see AI being ubiquitous in every industry. Every industry is going to be touched by it. And I would go as far as to say that nearly every product or every electronic product in the future will have AI of some sort. So my advice would be to pick up AI for newbies. No, but to start learning AI, you're not going to be able to avoid it, and you're only going to be slowing yourself down or putting yourself farther away from the starting line if you're trying to avoid it. And once you allow yourself to get involved with it and start learning it, you're going to be amazed at everything that it can do for you. Like just, this game, for example, we've built this entire ecosystem in business with 2 people, heavily relying on the use of AI. We wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. So, it's very quickly going to be where if your company is not using AI, you're several steps behind. It's been said a million times, but it's like when the calculator came out, there were people that resisted it, but I don't see anybody. I wouldn't go to an accountant today that didn't refuse to use a calculator for anything. It's either adapt or get left behind, and I don't see AI. I don't see it taking a backseat from where it is. I think it's only going to continue to grow. So you're doing yourself a disservice if you're avoiding it at this point in time.
That's great advice. I completely agree. And that's very in line with a lot of what we've heard other founders say as well. Just try it. Just think of what you're doing and say, I'll see if AI can do something for this. And it often can.
It's hard for me, it's hard to understand why you wouldn't want to as a business person. Like, why would you choose to sit there for 4 hours and write 20 product descriptions when you could do it in 20 seconds? And it's going to write better than you too, most likely.
Yeah, and it's better.
It's just like, you don't stand in your own way kind of thing. Just for whatever the reason is that you're trying to avoid it, just suck it up, and you're going to thank yourself once you give it a try and start using it.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Brady. We are very grateful, and we're excited to see where GAIM ends up. If any of our listeners want to follow GAIM or follow you, what are some of the best social media handles, platforms? What's the best way to follow you?
Yeah, on social media, most of our accounts are GAIM Network, GAIM Network. That's our parent company. Me personally, I'm Brady Lewis Tech on Twitter. And if you want to go check out the website, it's just GAIM.AI on the web. It's also available in the Apple App Store, the Android, Google Play Store. Just search GAIM.AI and it'll come up, and you'll have access to everything. You can start out for free. You get plenty of credits for free. Then our packages are extremely reasonably priced, and I would love for y'all to check it out and connect with me on social media, and let's start teaching the world about AI.
Yeah, exactly.
Amen.
Thanks, Brady.
Thank you so much, guys.